in the HWM Jag. Richard Walmer in the middle in the Cadillac, and on the far right it's Scott Malvern. But with a brilliant start, Bill Shepherd in the Ford Thunderbird Battlebird with a brilliant start, but can't find a way through. Tries to find a Thunderbird-shaped gap. It's only enough to get him up to second. Jake Hill hangs on to that lead as they make their way through Madrid. Yeah, and a really impressive start from HWMs. Look, the white and blue striped Ferrari on the outside as the 750S, but Tiff Needell fighting back the orange helmet in Margaret Jackson's C-Type Jaguar goes into fourth place. Nice clean start, but at first the sheer grunt of the Battlebird that propelled it up past three rivals. It's running in second place now. Let's take a look at the tail of our race. There is Jake Hill smoking slightly, but not him. The car is leading. Well, quite possibly, but just then it's that big Thunderbird currently in second place with a brilliant start. It's a clean start really from all of them as they make their way through the field. One of the Maseraties, Joseph Rettenmeyer there with a decent start too, and the rear of the field with the Connaught lining up at the back. But it was a good start initially from Jake Hill, but then I think zipping through, coming through Magic, it was, well, they fell back a couple of seconds. Yeah, Hill is now down to third. Yeah, it's Richard Walmer who was hanging the tail. He's in the Cadillac-powered car, and as he exited St Mary's in the lead, he was really hanging it out. A lot of drivers wait to get a bit of heat in their tyres, but he's decided now is the moment. I've got the Battlebird between me and the pole starter, which is the car in third place now, Jake Hill in the HWM Jaguar. He has got to get past the Battlebird if he's going to head off after Richard Walmer. Walmer is going, yeah, did it well. Yeah, really nice stuff on this first lap as they break for the chicane for the first time in this race and come across for lap number 2. It is indeed out in front now, Richard Walmer in the HWM Cadillac, followed by Bill Shepherd in the Ford Thunderbird. Then comes Jake Hill in the HWM Jag, but he's really hanging on to the back of Bill Shepherd enough to just get a taste of the inside, sling a nose down the inside. No, not quite. The corner comes too quickly, but he's almost pushing Bill Shepherd out of it. Gets alongside. Can he find a bit later on the brakes? He's already through before they come into a braking zone. Well, Jake Hill's HWM was always going to have more handling, just prepared to go that much faster into the first part of St Mary's, and by the second part he's put about 5 car lengths between him and the Battlebird, but now his sights are set on the Cadillac-powered HWM. Richard Walmer, looking down in the cockpit, weaving, about to pull off. That was the car that moved up to second place, just demoted to third, so the Battlebird of Bill Shepherd over and out. Such a shame then. It was looking like it was hanging on for a real challenge here, but Bill Shepherd then realising a problem, pulling well off into the grass and looking down in his cockpit. I wonder if it's something to do with the gears. Has he lost a gear? Has he lost his gearbox? Who knows? But out of the race then, it looks for Bill Shepherd. Richard Walmer leads though in the HWM Cadillac, now being chased down by Jake Hill. Battles all throughout the pack though, as Selecki in the Aston Martin just making their way through on the Ferrari of HWMs. Hold on, it's in the spirit of the Goodwood 9 hours. What always happened in that? Jaguars went well and Aston Martins came through to win, so maybe it could be one for Matthias Selecki. This is a car that finished second at Le Mans with the Whitehead brothers back in 1958. This race rather shorter, 25 minutes rather than 24 hours, but the C-Types in the mix as well. The God Special XK140 just tucked in behind the number 24 car, the C-Type of Nigel Webb. That's an ex-Duncan Hamilton car, having a great scrap, but all eyes should be in the front. Richard Walmer was 2 and a bit seconds clear when they came to the finish line. Jake Hill's halved that to 1.2 seconds down, and he's faster than the race leader by half a second in the first part of the lap. So would it be the number 38 Cadillac-powered HWO in the lead? Yes, but not by much, because you can see actually looking more settled is the Jaguar park cars. Double waved yellows for the drivers as they exited St Mary's. So what is off? Is that just simply down to Bill Shepherd? I was wondering if they were holding something off at Lavant. Talking of Lavant, we've done Lavant 1, Lavant 2, now it's the power down. Is it Cadillac Grunt or is it Jaguar Grunt that's going to win on the charge down towards Woodcote? But at the moment, it's Cadillac still, just Richard Walmer in front. Here we go, though, the battle for the lead, teetering up nicely. Jake Hill, who started on pole, initially with a good getaway, but then just losing out, coming through and out of Madwig. And in the end, Richard Walmer having led so far. Still a long way to go in this race, just over 20 minutes time, but you can tell Walmer is pushing, dips a wheel onto the grass, through the chicane, the rear steps out of him as well. And that was all the invitation Jake Hill needed to get his HWM Jag back into the lead of this race. I must say, Richard Walmer on the opening lap, and then again there, he doesn't have the grip, but he's prepared to push. But the Jaguar-powered one, number 64, the HWM of Jake Hill in the lead. Look,
early in this meeting, you would not have gone anywhere near the grass. It's been wet all since Thursday morning. A wet grass, as we know, is an accelerant, not a helping hand. But again, going wide on the exit of the chicane, Jake Hill didn't have to do much apart from nip to the left. Will he pull clear? He certainly gained a second on that lap. But can Warmer in second place, with almost 20 minutes on the clock, hang on? They're way clear of the rest. Scott Morgan 6 seconds further back in third.
3 laps gone then. Just over 19.5 minutes left. Tiff Needell has had a steady start to his race in the Jaguar C-Type, holding on into fourth. He's got about a second between himself and the chasing Aston Martin DB3S of Matthias Selecki. But now out in front, as Jake Hill has got finally in front in that HWM Jaguar, now starting to just get a bit of daylight between himself and the HWM Cadillac of Richard Walmer. Then comes Scott Malvern in the Allard J2X works car, who was kind of in a little bit of a race on his own at the moment. But this is the chasing Aston Martin I mentioned a moment ago, which is catching up to the back of Tiff Needell's Jaguar and already through on the Jaguar. So through goes the Aston Martin and down goes the C-Type.
Well, again, it looks like the DB3S has fantastic acceleration out of Lavant, because that was easy on the run down towards Woodcote, and the metallic Aston Martin Racing Green with the yellow nostrils, I suppose you could say, on the front of that. Matthias Selecki, yeah, he's happy with that. The pit crew will be too, but the battle... Well, I tell you what, that's also Tiff Needell having great experience, not trying to make it too difficult. He could sense the movement of the crowd there. It was the movement as they looked to see him being caught, and unfortunately for Tiff, passed, but that was gentlemanly behaviour.
Nice move from Matthias Selecki, then now up into fourth. And how quickly then can the DB3S close in on the Allard of Scott Malvern, currently in third. Out in front though, the gap just under 1.5 seconds. Last lap around, well, I think Walmer might have got a bit of traffic, because a little bit of time between them. We'll see what it is, but actually they're pretty much in tow as the lights start to come on the HWM Cadillac behind, as slowly the sun begins to set here at the Goodwood Revival. But this, the battle for the lead then in the Freddie March Memorial Trophy. This, the final race of the day, but Jake Hill just looks like he's got this one in tow for the time being.
For the time being. I actually think Richard Wood is only shedding a tenth of a second here or there. I think he's hanging in there, and traffic could be an issue. And as I say that, we see the first of the back markers coming up ahead. It should be fine for Jake Hill, because he should be able to pick off. I think it's a red D-type up ahead. Let's wait and see what it is as it comes into view. Yes, indeed it is. It's car number 12. And that is Jonathan Turner's car that started very near the back of the grid. And importantly for Jake Hill, he got past before they got to Madrid. This is a replay, and let us see what is about to happen in the world of C-Types and Fraser Nash's. John Ure in the dark red one going around the outside. That's one of the Le Mans replicas. Very good, tidy move.
Yeah, really nice going around the outside, making it look easy ahead. That's going on further back in the back. Indeed, they're still battling further back as they both breeze past now. The Jag C-Type of Ben Cousins, that's one that's lost out to the Fraser Nashes. The second one going through the Le Mans replica in the second of the Fraser Nashes in your screen, coming through the chicane now. Nice battle brewing.
Great battle, and it's Matthias Selecki went past Tiff Needell last time around, and the C-Type number 8 went back down to fifth. I'm just hearing he might have lost another place. Guy Harmon, yes, he has, because you can see Harmon, the number 62, flashing past. That's the Cooper Jaguar, a much sort of lower front end, and there's a 10-second penalty for car 8 for a full start, which is, oh god, if you just lost the place, now you've got 10 seconds added to your time as well. That will drop him down to the tail of the top 10, possibly just out beyond, but it's Hill from Walmer from Morgan. They're the top 3, covered by just 10 seconds at this point. Now, who's going to lose the brakes first?
That's the question, isn't it? Speeding through comes Tiff Needell, trying to then now make up for what he's got with a 10-second time penalty. Just have a look on the second row on the left-hand side. As the flag went up, I think I did see that C-Type just edge forward, and you can't move forward at all until the flag comes back down.
I really rather feel for Tiff there. That was absolutely on the edge. Bill Shepherd was moving about a nanosecond afterwards when he was making his charge in the Battlebird. But Tiff will fight on. He'll enjoy the battle on the track. He's got another C-Type behind, Nigel Webb, car number 24. And then tucked in behind, we've got another charger in the form of Martin Hunt in another HWM Jaguar.
We've got a slow-moving D-Type. I think was just having a little bit of an issue there. That's Steve Brooks at the wheel, a little bit further down in the pack. No, seems to have been going strong again. So down in 15th at the moment. So seems to still be going along.
Back to our lead battle. It's 64. It's HWM Jaguar with Jake Hill on board. Richard Walmer is on the timesheet. It's nearly 2.5 seconds back. Is that what we're looking at now? I think it's slightly less. I think through the twisty parts, particularly St Mary, the HWM Cadillac looks a more wieldy tool, or certainly being driven rather better. Okay, right. There are moments and moments. I think we picked up the end of that.
Now it makes sense.
Not the divot, but that was Steve Brooks going very, very sideways. That's why he shed a few places and probably a few heartbeats as well, as he got the D-Type very sideways into Woodcote.
And a nice wedge of grass on the track as well for his troubles. Okay, 14 minutes left on the clock for the Freddie March Memorial Trophy. Across the line to start another lap comes Jake Hill in the HWM Jag. The gap come down slightly, 1.8 seconds. Richard Walmer chasing there, coming through Madgwig, as now Hill also gets a bit of traffic ahead of them, manages to get through it okay, but they will be getting more and more of that through the pack. But it is coming down. Walmer's pushing.
Yeah, it's a case of where they're going to find it. Walmer down to 1.9 seconds, just beneath a great Fraser Nash battle there. John Muir in the dark red car, still just in front, but having a great chase. Cliff Gray as well, and the sort of rather more rudimentary number 22.
Yeah, the Le Mans replica of Cliff Gray in front, or no, behind, and trying to catch up. And actually, they're just having to still deal with the Jag behind. There's the grass divots left on the track, just off the racing line. Thankfully, as the Fraser Nashes once again come into the chicane. John Muir leading the Fraser Nash brigade just ahead of Cliff Gray in the Le Mans replica, as they make their way down the start-finish line, just leaving the Jaguar behind. And then actually it's the Cooper T33 that is starting to close. That's Katerina Kivalova just starting to close in on the Jaguar in front, as the Fraser Nashes have to go side by side for that slow-moving 12 car further back in the pack. Jonathan Turner's D-Type.
Yeah, they had to go either side. A little bit discombobulating for some of them. Up front, though, 1.8 seconds was the gap between first and second, between Jake Hill and Richard Walmer. Guess what it is this time? 1.8 seconds. It's we're dealing in a fraction of a second either way. Scott Morvan, 10 and a bit seconds further back in number 77, the Allard that started from the outside of the front row. And in fact, we've got Jonathan Turner retiring. He's putting it, or maybe he's just let it, oh, well, that's why it was getting a little bit sideways and slowing down a bit. Left rear puncher. How unfortunate for him there.
Certainly is for Jonathan Turner in the Jaguar D-Type. Started on the penultimate row, down in 25th. Puts his hands up, lets them know the race leader coming through, given the warning. So good driving from Jonathan there, just to stay well clear and out of the way. Unlucky to get a puncher, really. Haven't seen many of them, but that does not deter Richard Walmer from pushing on in his HWM Cadillac, but that gap maintaining at the moment at around that 1.8 second mark. They've really got the lead on their own, because Scott Malvin is quite a way behind, 12.5 seconds behind in third, and we'll have Matthias Selecki not too far behind in the DB3S.
Right, eyes drawn back towards the Fraser Nash battle. It's the Le Mans rep, number 22, ex-works car driven by Tony Brooks and Ken Wharton, just holding off John Muir. And Ben Cussen's fighting back in the family C-Type. It's been their family for years, the third production C-Type, and enjoining that battle. But now a bit of smoke from the number 4 D-Type that went very sideways for Steve Brooks. That was the one that did not replace its divot when rejoining the course, but pressing on. Is that bodywork rubbing on the tyre? Or is it something more sinister? Not too long to go, 10 and a bit minutes. Maybe he can last. Maybe he's getting a bit of oil on his rear tyres. He's really skidding around a bit, and then tucked in behind his number 84, which is the XK140 GOM Special, Rick Wilmot at the wheel. So race is going on. Lead battle. Now the pendulum is swinging towards our race leader, Jake Hill, 2.5 seconds clear.
Indeed, but that Jag still smoking of Steve Brooks in the D-Type, currently down the order slightly in 14th. It's got about a second back to the next car. Passes the scene of the crime where he slid across the grass earlier and bounced back onto the circuit. So I wonder if that just unsettled the car slightly, as he suggested. Is something rubbing on a tyre there, but seems to still be making his way around, and he's just on the left-hand side, isn't it? There it is.
You know, okay, he sensed it. He's going to retire to, well, he's certainly acknowledging it to the pits. He's missed the pit in. I'm just wondering if he's actually slightly fractured the exhaust when he went bouncing over the curb. Pretty much the point these cars are coming past. First and second, the two HWMs, the Jaguar powered one of Jake Hill in the lead, going past the grass and muck that was sown on the track by number 4, which was Steve Brooks. But the sun is getting lower. It will go down behind a cloud before it goes down behind the horizon. But still, great moments for people out around the circuit getting that soft evening light. But Jake Hill's counting the laps down. 9 minutes, 20 seconds remain.
Gaps extended, though, at the front momentarily. Jake Hill just able to eke out a little bit more of the gap after 10 laps, but it's coming down. Warmer does not let him get away with that one for much longer then, as we see a little bit of traffic. That is the 24 Nigel Webb's Jaguar C-Type just making his way through. The Maserati is Joseph Rettenmeyer in the red coming through the chicane just ahead of the 74 clear of Hunt's HWM Jaguar. That nice little battle there happening over 7th and 8th at the moment. Rettenmeyer and the Maserati winning that one out as we go back to the Fraser Nashes.
Another battle where it chomps and changes. And, oh dear, not so long ago we saw the number 62 Guy Harmon driven Cooper Jaguar, but that has rearranged the flowers and rearranged its front end. That's going to come back round. Would he park it up at this point in the race? He's going to try and limp back to the pits, but it's a little bit biffed and bashed. But oh, big shame there for Guy Harmon. Round it went. Yeah,
that bodywork really rubbing against the front tyre there as well.
And he was going so well. He got himself up into 5th place, quietly picking off Nigel Webb, Joseph Otto Rettenmeyer, Theo Hunt, and just pressing maybe a little too hard, or maybe there's fluid on the circuit. Bear in mind, we've seen the number 4 coming around the circuit, smoking away. That could have been dropping oil, the Steve Brooks D-Type. But anyhow, Guy Harmon was the one who got caught out.
Indeed, which is a shame. He'll have to make his way back to the pits. He is still putting his foot down, just trying to get back if he can. So at the moment, the car holding up and then leaving a sea of smoke behind, just about keeping it on the road, struggling to get it turned into the left with that wheel kind of rubbing and on the crumple zone of the front end of the car, and he's got 2 cars behind him who will be getting a face full of smoke and won't be able to see anything, as I think he does just ease off to try and allow them the space to see in front. Nigel Webb coming through in the C-Type, so this is essentially 4th position as he does the right thing, Guy Harmon, and slows right down and gets out of the way.
And that was the battle that he just worked his way to the head of. That was the battle with Nigel Webb, Rettenmeyer, Hunt and Needell. They carry on unabated, but our lead battle has come down from 1.5 seconds. It was 2 seconds on the start-finish line. It's not even 2 car lengths now, but what's in front of our race leader, Jake Hill? 3 others, what's alongside him? Richard Walmer, who is challenging from 2nd place. Who's going to guess right on the traffic? My money at the moment is on Walmer. They're side by side. They're going either side of the C-Type. Car number 11 of Ben Cousins, which has been enjoying such a good battle.
And then they'll get the Fraser Nashes as well, as Walmer has to take to the grass, bouncing over. They both make it past the Fraser Nash. Of course, the surface might well be slippy from that incident earlier of Guy Harmon, but through then into the lead, making use of the traffic, Richard Walmer, but Jake Hill is coming right back at him, but through the chicane then, now back into the lead of this race is the number 38 of Richard Walmer, the HWM Cadillac, but side by side out of the chicane comes the power of the Jaguar, and it's a drag race to the line and a drag race to Madrick, and on the inside I think Jake Hill's going to win that one out.
He certainly did. He had far better exit from the chicane because Richard Walmer hung the tail out a little bit in his desperation to get onto the straight, couldn't put the Cadillac power down. Jake could put the Jaguar power down, so our pole sitter back into the lead of the race. Now take a look, how do you divide the traffic? The 2 Fraser Nashes ahead, you go on the grass, you bounce up and down, because the front wheels came off the ground entirely, so that was a real rodeo ride for Richard Walmer, and Jake Hill probably thought, well, I wanted to keep the lead of the race, but look at that head-on, amazing camera work, brilliantly caught by Richard Walmer as he came back down to earth.
Yes, those 2 Fraser Nashes getting a prime seat of that battle there. Still, going on. Less than a second between these two in the fight for the lead, with just over 5 minutes to go. Scott Malvern down in third in the Allard, really having a race all on his own in the 77, keeping Matthias Selecki, Aston Martin DB3S at bay, a few seconds back in fourth, and then comes Nigel Webb's Jaguar C-Type. That rounds out the top 5, and the Maserati having a good run from Joseph Rettenmeier in the 300S up into the top 5. But Jake Hill then trying and getting back into the lead and just extending that gap a little bit more as they come through the chicane again.
Right, well, let's take a look at what happened to Guy Harmer, just very slightly sideways, and then unfortunately the tail catching, the nose wrapping, and he got up to 5th place. That was a shame. That was a drive that was going very well, and then clearly not at all. Very quick to get back on the circuit, but desperate to get it back round, but clearly a car that was going to go no further. That was parked up in the pits.
Almost seemed like just such a light touch as well to both the rear and the front end, but doing the damage there, which is a shame to see. That gap has gone up very quickly indeed, with Jake Hill getting back into the lead.
Shall I tell you why?
3 seconds, please do.
He's just set the fastest lap of the race, so suddenly it wasn't a case of Richard Wilbur having had that sort of bouncy ride across the grass maybe affecting his car. It was a case of perhaps Jake Hill just getting more confidence on the brakes, not having it. The last few laps have had a lot of traffic in front of them and just finding his natural pace, but it did look as though Richard Wilbur might have a chance when we came to traffic. We got to traffic, he got his chance, he took it, but since then Jake Hill has struck back simply because he had a better exit from the chicane, and now he's going to power clear because Jake Hill is going to keep things very clear, very clean, surely with just probably 2 more laps beyond this one to defend. Oh dearie me, it does seem as though if you're driving a Cooper Jaguar, you're in problems. So there's Katerina Kivalova on the grass as well, an ex-Bertie Bradnat car being parked up.
Yeah, and she's straight away gesturing to the marshals to try and help her, as I think she's switching it off, trying to see where they can recover that car too, but see how far that is off the circuit in terms of whether we might get a double yellow flag. A little bit of traffic for Jake Hill just to navigate, coming through the chicane, held up slightly, but then he does get through. Richard will have to deal the same as the Fraser Nashes and the Jaguar C-Type of Ben Cousins, which sits right at the rear of this gaggle, continue to battle it out.
Yeah, just tucked in behind and then pulling to the left and going past him is the Allard that started the outside the front row, the dark green car with Scott Morgan at the wheel, Nick Jarvis's car. He's now fallen 15 seconds behind Richard Wilbur, who in turn is the best part of 3 seconds down on race leader Jake Hill. I think Jake Hill's got this one in the bag, but let's not count. We've already had one car suffering a puncture, and Matthias Selecki running on his own, actually just 2.5 seconds down on Morgan, who's closed in the last few laps in that Aston Martin. So maybe the rub of the green for Aston Martin yet again will happen to do with a race that has some connection to the Goodwood 9 Hours.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think Scott Morgan will be a tad annoyed at the Fraser Nash Le Mans replica, because that was really kind of challenging him almost for position at one point until it did get out of the way and gesture for the Allard to come through. The Fraser Nash is embroiled in a great battle further back, but that did just hold up Scott Melvin in the Allard a little bit too long for his liking, I'm sure, as the Matthias Selecki car, the 25, the Aston Martin, the DB3S, comes through, and we'll have to deal with the same traffic.
Has the grunt. Now, you don't want to go 3 wide, but just before the kink managed to get in front of the Aston Martin, because you find yourself in no man's land if you're on the right-hand side for the driver's point, because the run from the kink after Lavin is in itself kinked, where the track goes down from 3 car widths to about 2. And if you're on the right-hand side from the driver's point of view, there's often not much in front of you, but Jake Hill now 2.5 seconds clear. I must say, Richard Wilbur is still hanging on in there, the Aston Martin right across Jake Hill's bows. And what have we got left on the clock? 1 minute 18 seconds. This could well be the last lap. He may just have the flag fall before they complete their 25. When they complete their 25 minutes at the end of this lap, or he may have to do one further lap. But with 2.5 seconds clear, Jake Hill doesn't have any particular impediments. A little bit of traffic in front of Richard Wilbur, who's giving chase but not catching the Cadillac-powered HWM. And surely at this point, a driver of Jake Hill's caliber has got this under control.
Yeah, currently chasing the British Touring Car Championship title is Jake Hill with just a couple of rounds remaining. It's within his grasp, and within his grasp for certain will be the Freddie March Memorial Trophy, with now the gap 2.5 seconds to Richard Woolmer's HWM Cadillac. That is Jake Hill in the HWM Jaguar. Then in third, has been there pretty much all race long, as the Allard J2X of Scott Malvern. Then comes, still chasing down, Matthias Selecki, the Aston Martin DB3S, and Nigel Webber's Jaguar C-Type, having a nice run into fifth.
Don't forget that the Royal Automobile Club TT celebration is a driver who drove superbly. His name was Jake Hill, but he was pipped at the end, so his shoulders were down. The hand is up. Oh, he's timed that to perfection. The checkered flag just coming out, hadn't pressed on. He might have just had time to do another lap. None needed. But his margin of victory in the HWM Jaguar, the one we look at there, car number 64, 3.5 seconds over Richard Woolmer. That was a good race, but let's just find out who's going to finish in third place. Will it be the Allard of Scott Malvern, or would it be the Aston Martin, the chasing Aston Martin of Matthias Selecki? They've still got a distance to go.
A strong drive then from Jake Hill, who takes the checkered flag and finishes the Freddie March Memorial Trophy and finishes the day here at the Goodwood Revival with the win in his HWM Jag, ahead of a challenging Richard Woolmer in the HWM Cadillac that just couldn't mount that challenge into the final few laps. Okay. The Allard coming in third, but the battle for fifth is far from over.
Yeah, the charge of the flag, it looks so the Jaguar C-Type of Nigel Webb has just come out ahead of that pack. Fifth place will go to his C-Type, Joseph Otto Rettema, the bright red. Maserati takes sixth, Theo Hunt takes seventh in number 74.